everybody, and welcome to Epic Everyday, our weekday podcast for busy, stressed out Christians who want to do more than just survive, who want to really thrive. I'm Liz Ferricks, and this is my husband, Evan.
Ellie. I forgot how to say hi.
That's because you were spending all your energy trying to make me laugh.
Yeah, well, hello.
Such a
Don't know what happened there.
That was karma, I think.
We don't do karma around here.
This week we are talking about having a growth mindset. That's the idea that our brains are not fixed, that we have enough neuroplasticity to be able to develop new neural pathways. We can become smarter.
Yeah. You know, there's that line from the Mojo class or Class Mojo or whatever.
Class Dojo?
Yeah. Uh-huh. And the girl's always like, scientists have found out, you know. So it's all pretty...
Neuroscientists.
Pretty cutting edge stuff here. But yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It is really amazing.
I mean, kids' brains, of course, can grow and learn and stuff. But I guess we think that at some point that all stops and we're just stuck the way we are when we turn 18 or...
Well, I mean, I had people when the girls were little that were like, you should stay home with them until they're 6 because, you know, after 6, their personality and everything is formed and your parenting role is just so minor after that.
I've heard that too. I feel like our kids had a personality from day one and it's been consistent. So I guess that's the thing in general. You know, you hear stuff and it sounds pretty authoritative, but I don't think the book is written. I mean, our human understanding about whatever is so limited.
Right.
And we're always learning new stuff. I mean, otherwise, all the scientists would retire. And that's not happening.
Yeah, and it's amazing the things that we don't know about the world.
Yeah.
The girls and I are doing oceanology right now. Oceanology? Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Oh, no, it's our zoology for swimming animals. Anyway. Did you know that the blue whale is barely studied because it's such a solitary creature that we still don't even know where they go for breeding or where they migrate.
That's amazing.
It's the largest animal on Earth, and it's
so hard to find because they're not in pods?
They're not in pods, and they go a specific place to feed, not in breeding season. But I guess because they dive so deep, and I don't know. They just haven't been able to find out where the breeding grounds are yet.
It's pretty bizarre, yeah. I mean, I like, like pyramids and ancient Egypt and ancient Mayan history and stuff like that. And there's so much mystery there, too. I mean, we think they just discovered in Guatemala, I think, in the forest, this giant metropolis, Mayan metropolis. That's just a few weeks ago. It's like,
wow.
Okay. I mean, awesome. Sounds like it's as big of a discovery as like Machu Picchu or something.
Wow.
And we never knew about it before. And it's like, so anyway, yeah, we want to have an open mind because when we start to think that all the stuff's known, all the knowable stuff is known, that's a big lie. So anyway.
Right. You can't learn what you already know.
Yeah. Or, Chuck Missler says the biggest barrier to truth is thinking you already have it.
Yeah.
So that's growth mindset, isn't it? That like we can still find out something, even about something we think we know so much about.
Totally.
I think as Christians, especially older Christians, well, not old like chronologically, but people who have been Christians for a long time, I think we start to feel like that about the Bible sometimes, unfortunately. Like, I kind of get it, I kind of get the Bible, and we could start to neglect it. So all that's kind of bonus. A little sidetrack.
Yes. So since it's Thursday, we're going to talk about Evan's favorite thing in the whole wide world, being connected.
So I think sometimes, this is a new topic to us, fairly new growth mindset, something we're learning about. And I wonder if people listening are like, well, what is growth mindset even? What's that look like practically? What is that even? Like, it kind of is a mystery. It's like, well, what even is that? What does that look like? How would my life be different if I was in growth mindset? Yeah, what's that?
So today, this is the exercise we did, where is a cutout. So someone with a fixed mindset, which is the opposite of a growth mindset, avoids challenges, believes it doesn't help to work hard, won't try new and hard things, gives up easily, is jealous when other people do well, believes if they don't try, they won't make a mistake. Someone with a growth mindset likes to try new things, can learn from their mistakes, is inspired when others do well, believes effort helps them learn, keeps trying until they can do it, and loves a challenge.
Well, there you go. But don't you think that that's new to some people? I mean,
Oh, totally.
yeah.
For me, when I was reading through those things this morning, I was like, oh, yeah, this is practically what it looks like to have that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the
These
right
are
word is.
the things that we do when we're in either mindset. Because I think we
Right.
do things from both lists throughout, depending on the situation, all the time.
Right. There's a pretty good book that we read called The Girl Who Never Made Mistakes. And it's about this girl who never makes a mistake until she's in elementary school.
Yeah.
And, but part of the way she never makes mistakes is she avoids anything difficult. And she avoids having fun. Because,
Yeah.
like, her brother goes around and, he makes his peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with jelly on the outside, and she's like, I can't do that. I can't make a mistake,
Right.
So she sees kids skating and she's like, I can't do that. I'd fall down.
That reminds me of this book we read when we first started having children, the Love and Logic book, where it's like, if you so insulate your child, I mean, this would be the way to raise a child without growth mindset, would be to insulate them, make all their choices for them, make sure they never fall and get a boo-boo on their knee, and like
Right.
this child in this book. And then we think that once they're 18, you can just send them away out into the world and they'll be just fine. Because I think the mindset is, well, I told them and I had all their thoughts for them, so they should have absorbed that somehow.
Right.
And now
Osmosis.
they know how to be as smart as me. But
Kids learn by doing, not by hearing.
and people learn by doing, not
Right.
by hearing. Like, we've got to allow ourselves to make mistakes and try things that might not really, it's like, well, this might work.
Right.
Give it a shot.
I think the other area we need growth mindset with connection is to give our relationships room to breathe. Like, I think sometimes we think that a relationship is just going to stay the way it's always been.
Yeah.
I know I fall into that where I'm like, this relationship is hard and it's always going to be hard. Or this person treats me this way and they're always going to treat me this way. And I think when we believe that, then it stays that way because we respond in such a way to keep the relationship hard because we expect it to be hard, or
we don't put in the effort and it stays hard because
Right.
it's not really it's not going to grow or change.
right. So I think we have to, not just have a growth mindset personally, but we also have to have it in the context of our relationships.
And I think sometimes when we balk, it's because either a growth area seems impossible. Like if somebody were like, well, how relationships grow is you increase your vulnerability with someone. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that is not going to work. And so
Right.
we don't do it. Or, if we're supposed to have this childlike mindset and, be continually scientific about the world and trying to learn, it's like, I don't have when am I going to do that? I've got to go to my job and make money.
Right.
And so we turn off some of these things because it doesn't seem like it's a sustainable plan to always have growth mindset about everything.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
do you think that slows some people down? It's kind of
Yeah.
intimidating.
It's daunting.
Yeah.
I think especially when you're first changing. But I think it's a lot like Tai Chi,
Oh, we haven't talked about Tai Chi in a
bring it
while.
back to Tai Chi. But, when you first start Tai Chi, I will tell you the first time that I went to class, I did not know my left from my right. I mean,
That's why you had to go to class.
I could look at my hands and be like, this one's left, this one's right. And I could look at my feet and be like, that's left, that's right. But I had to look. Like, when the teacher was like, move your left foot back, I was like, wait, which one's my left?
Oh.
And now I just know without having to think about it.
Interesting. So that was like spatial awareness and mind-body connection.
Right.
That
Yeah,
was kind
because
of
I
not
was
working.
so fragmented from, trying to ignore my body all the time that I didn't feel any of those places. There were things that I hadn't felt, in years because I was like, I don't want to hear your pain. Shut up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like when you first start, it feels overwhelming and I don't know. There's just so much to it and there's so many different layers, but it's like a sponge sitting in water. You soak it up gradually and the changes happen. You don't even recognize them sometimes. But then, years later, you're like, oh, wow, that is, it's totally changed. And it's not something that I have to think about now. Mm-hmm. Like if somebody's like, move your right foot, I don't have to go, wait, which is my right? I just know.
Yeah.
And I think growth mindset is the same way. Like we start out and we're like, this is hard. What do I do? How am I, which foot is it? What am I thinking? Am I in fixed mindset or growth mindset here? And then as we do it more and more, it becomes such a habit that it's almost effortless.
Like so many things, you can't learn it without doing it. I mean,
right.
You can't just read a book on Tai Chi and be able to do it. You've got to practice it. I mean, you could learn from a book, but you've got to practice what you read in the book.
Right.
You can't just read a book and then be a black belt in Tai Chi.
There are no belts.
There's not. There's no spoon either, right?
Yes.
But yeah, and so we want to do that. The mindset is this growth, and this is what we're trying to step into it more as much as possible. And it is because you kind of are holding more and more things with an open hand at that point. I mean, kind of like what we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. Like, there's all this stuff we don't know. Once we close our hand around it and be like, oh, we know about that now. And you can stop thinking about it.
And I think it's really frustrating because just like, one of the things we talk about in Tai Chi is the first thing you notice is stress. It's not relaxation. You're trying to find relaxation and all you're finding is like, oh, I'm tense here. Oh, I'm tense here. Oh. Yeah. And so when we're trying to change something, like we were talking about last week, the first thing you notice is, oh, I'm in scarcity mode now. You're not like, oh, I'm not in scarcity mode. You're like, oh, I'm in scarcity mode. And, oh, I have a fixed mindset here. And it's as we gradually shift those things that we start finding, oh, I'm in growth mindset. But it's not until we recognize, oh, I'm in fixed mindset here. We have to start by recognizing the negative before we can move to the positive.
Because that's where we are. Like, we're really just taking an inventory of what's going on. And if it's not where we're supposed to be, we've still got to note it, even though we're like, oh, I don't really want to be there. But it's important to be like, well, I am. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
It's not where I want to be, but this is where I am.
So going back to the parent-child thing, I mean, we have the Lord who's continuing to direct our growth and to be like, here, new information, here. Just like you were talking about earlier, that a healthy parent does. They help direct their children's growth. And I think we can kind of pull that analogy into relationships too. I was thinking about with one of our nieces, she's 2 right now, super adorable. The way that we relate to her has changed because when she was very little, we just cuddled her and talked about certain things, and now we can talk about more things, and
that's true.
It's really fun for that relationship to keep growing and changing as she grows and changes. And I think, holding our relationships with an open hand and saying, this person is capable of growing and I am capable of growing, so I'm going to just give it that room, that flexibility to be able to grow. I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to keep growing myself and then see what happens.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I wonder if some people get bored with God because they're not doing this, where they're like, if I'm not growing and changing, God's going to keep relating to me the same way, like in a 2-year-old way or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he wants us to grow and change, and that our experience with him will deepen and mature as well. But if we're cutting that off somehow and we're just staying 2-year-olds, I just thought about that. You hear people talk about getting bored with their relationship with God sometimes, and I wonder if that's kind of what's happening.
If you're gonna act like a 2-year-old, I'm gonna talk to you like a 2-year-old.
Anyway, so yeah, we do have the perfect mentor, and like we want to have that mindset with our human relationships as well.
All right. We love you guys, and we are praying for you. As always, pick whether today is going to be awesome, because it totally can be. Growth mindset.
Yeah.
Thanks to everybody that's been sharing the show and listening to the show. We really appreciate it. If you have found this podcast helpful, please do continue to share it and come back tomorrow. And we're going to keep talking about growth mindset and being complete in the middle of all that.
Talk to you then.